AAA, won't open up, AAA Service Network. There you go. I want to tell you, I called the owner of AAA. He advertises in the Current. And I called him and I asked him about water heaters. I had a problem with a water heater and I bought a Rheem. And I had to replace that, and I replaced it with a Rinnai. And I really should have talked to AAA first before I'd made any decision because, hey, Rheem wouldn't honor their warranty. It was really disgusting. I'm really upset with that. Home Depot tried to go to bat for me too, but they just said, no, we're not going to honor that. And had to let me know, the owner of AAA, Ed Kopp, he told me, hey, you should have bought a Rinnai, which is exactly what I had bought the second time. So there's information there you need to make yourself available to. And you can call AAA Service Network. They have a number of numbers, but I'll give you the Whitmore Lake number, 734-449-4910, because, hey, they all go to the same place. Covers quite a wide range of places. While we're still talking at you about stuff to do, people to see, there's the Patrick Colbeck for Governor Food Fest 2018 fundraiser tonight. It's hosted by Ted and Rose Lang. It's tonight from 6 to 9. It's a suggested donation of $75 a person, 10 per child. And it's at 8950 Ann Arbor Road, West Plymouth, Michigan, or Ann Arbor Road West, Plymouth, Michigan. Okay? So you can go to the colbeckforgovernor.com site to see this information, in case you missed it, because I read it too fast or didn't say it clearly enough, which is Patrick Colbeck for Governor, Food Fest 2018 fundraiser hosted by Ted and Rose Lang. Okay, and once again, it's 8950 Ann Arbor Road, West in Plymouth, Michigan.
That's right down the street from me.
Yeah, you're looking at me, what do you mean West Plymouth, Ed? Right? You should have just said it. So, let's see, back to the second half hour. And, one thing we want to talk about, let me jiggle this, see who's calling in. Joe from Wyandotte. I told Joe he couldn't call. Okay, we'll have him. Go ahead.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, Joe.
I'm not calling to talk about trade, though.
Okay.
That would fill up the whole back half of the show.
All right. Well, before you hijack our agenda too far, I want to tell you we have a couple things we want to cover. So you want to talk about the Flint water story. Make it quick.
Yeah. But if you're not going to the Colbeck thing, if you can't afford $75, if you got a few dollars of gas money, we have a road rally, Biddle and Eureka and Wyandotte 4 to 6. Please come out and wave signs with us. But yeah,
you can do both, 4 to 6 and then 6 to 8. Just drive fast from the road rally.
That's right. Well, we're actually following up the Wyandotte road rally, going to the Telegraph Dream Cruise in Taylor too. We're following up like 6:30 to 9 on the Dream Cruise too.
If you see a little yellow Fiesta there, that's my brother. Wave and say hi.
Okay, but yeah, as to Flint, Gary put the story on the Drift about the mismanagement of funds, and part of that being this ridiculous overpayment to this one Flint water worker, mostly doing union time work and doing it from home, but getting paid for it. But I think the more important story out there is that there are millions of dollars sitting at the state that Flint is not making use of to fix their pipes.
Well, I think even worse than that,
Democrat mismanagement, and they get away with it.
Alex, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, continue.
Okay. Well, I think even worse than that is what I'm reading now is that the parts per million on the lead never exceeded federal guidelines.
Nothing surprises me.
Yeah.
Because it's all political. What they can use as a political hammer, and it was something they thought they could use as a wedge and deflect from the ineptness of the Democrats that have run Flint forever.
There you go. Yep, absolutely right. And try and blame it on the Republicans in Lansing. Well, Republicans in name only in Lansing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Well,
Go ahead,
Flint's a really poor city, and they've been under Democratic control for a long time.
That's why.
Well, and it's also about trade, which we won't talk about. How Buick City basically just went away under the old policies of
NAFTA,
of NAFTA and Clinton, whatever.
Yep.
But it's terrible, and it's currently still being mismanaged.
Yeah,
Well,
and they keep re-electing the same fools that have mismanaged it forever. They never, ever learn. It's a shame we cannot use the emergency manager law to reinstitute an emergency manager to straighten that crap out. But under the law, there are certain criteria that have to be met. They came out of emergency manager status a few years ago, and unfortunately, until they bankrupt themselves again, which they will do, we can't reinstitute an emergency manager who could properly and effectively manage the situation and make use of the funds that are there to redo these pipes like they were supposed to do.
Yeah. Yep. And as far as I'm understanding, there's a lot of technology that could alleviate the lead pipe issue, because they've been living with lead pipes for a while. It's the leaching under the certain chemicals they let out that did some of that damage. But there's certain soda ash and the like that could be run through those pipes that would basically make them neutral again. I think that's what I read.
No,
I read it on the internet. It must be true.
That's exactly the failing in the first place. The failure of the Flint Water Department personnel, nothing to do with Rick Snyder, nothing to do with DEQ, nothing to do with the EM, nothing even really to do with the switch the water supply that the Flint Council Democrats approved. Mm-hmm. They failed at the Flint Water Department to add the proper chemicals that would have prevented the leaching, because you're right, lead pipes are everywhere, and mostly is not a problem because they're using the proper additives, where they failed to do it in Flint. And I don't want to hear a darn thing out of Schuette or anybody else about Flint until each and every one of the people at the Flint Water Department is behind bars for negligent homicide, if they're going to blame anybody.
Okay. On that note, Joe, thanks for calling in.
All right. Take care, my friends. I love you.
All right. I'll see you in the funny
You too.
pages. I love that line. I meant Facebook, but I'll see you in the funny pages. Yeah. You know what? You got to find Joe Lennart on Facebook. The Debbie, thanks a lot, Debbie Stabenow page. Thanks a lot, Debbie Stabenow, not page on Facebook. And be a part of the effort to unseat Debbie Stabenow from her position. No matter who you want in the primaries right now, we have to defeat Debbie Stabenow. So thanks a lot, Joe. Hey, look, there's a lot in the news lately about Cohen and Trump and the tapes. And I heard something very interesting, and Derek's going to play for us. I edited this audio down of Trump. It's true audio. I didn't add anything or make anything funny, but listen carefully to what's said here. Derek?
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away. I've actually come up and I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with funding. Yes. And it's all the stuff, because you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be. Correct. So I'm all over that, and I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be.
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
okay.
No. I got no.
Okay, so I was on vacation last week, and I heard this audio a number of times, and I thought, what the heck does that have to do with Karen McDougal, the Playboy model he's supposed to be paying off? One, they're referring to somebody named David. They're going to pay this money to David, and I'm wondering who David is. And so, interestingly enough, there's a phrase in there that I did not hear. I wanted to read the transcript of this, Alex.
Okay.
I wanted to read the transcript, so the inaudible stuff would be, people analyze this and they write it down. And after I read the transcript, it's like listening to Paul is Dead. All of a sudden you hear it. You never noticed it before. And so I could very clearly hear this in the background, something that Trump said, which surprises the daylights out of me, that everybody's jumping on him for supposedly wanting to make this payment, which would not be illegal, right? Would not be illegal. Supposedly, right. Cohen is hooked up with the mob. He's a mob-type lawyer. He's a shady character. He's trying to get himself out of this New York taxi cab medallion scandal he's in by giving up Trump. Okay, this is all had nothing to do with quote-unquote collusion. And now we hear this audio, and of all things, I want to read this to you, okay, because this is hilarious. So Trump says, so what do we got to pay for this, $150? Cohen says, funding, yes, and it's all the stuff. And Trump says, yeah, I was thinking about that. And Cohen says, all the stuff, because here, you never know where that company, you never know what he's, and then Trump says, maybe he gets hit by a truck. I'm like, what? No.
Pretty nondescript.
And then Cohen says, correct, so I'm all over that. Now, if I was a liberal Democrat, progressive idiot, I would be all over that in a heartbeat, saying that Trump suggested that Cohen arranged for somebody to get run over by a truck. But no, they're saying this has something to do with McDougal. What's your take?
Well, I really don't know. It seems like a tempest in a teapot there, but I couldn't hazard a guess. It just doesn't make sense one way or another, and I don't think there's an issue here.
Okay, so now Cohen's saying I have more tapes, and we're back to the collusion thing. And now Cohen comes to the press and he says, "Hey, I know, Donald told me that he knew about the meeting with the Russian agent that Don Jr. went to that Trump said he knew nothing about." So what would be the big crime here? That Trump maybe said something that wasn't quite right, or he might have misremembered?
It seems to me he's just shopping for a book deal or another slot.
He's looking for a deal to get out of jail deal. He's trying to get Mueller off his back. He's trying to get the attorney of Southern New York, I think it is, a federal attorney for this whole taxi medallion thing. I think he's upset that Trump didn't give him a pardon yet because they've been buds for all this time.
Well, maybe next time I get a traffic ticket, I'll use a similar strategy, and so I could avoid paying it. I'll just sort of turn on Trump and invent some interesting facts, and maybe I won't have to pay the ticket.
Yep. Well, Gary from Hazel Park is on, and he wants to talk about the Bill Federer interview, and I'd like to have that on, and maybe if we have time, we'll get back to this. So bookmark this spot in the conversation, folks. Here's Gary. Hey, Gary.
Hey, good afternoon. I really enjoyed the interview with Bill. It was very informative. But what I find wrong, and not wrong with what he said, but why we even tolerate the Democrat Party after, in just a half an hour, he was able to chronologize 15, exaggerating there a little bit, things that they did back in history that were completely deplorable, such as the Trail of Tears, the Fugitive Slave Act, the Jim Crow laws, all of these things. And when I remember doing history back in school, they didn't really differentiate between the Republicans and the Democrats. It was just the government did this. Mm-hmm. They really need to emphasize who did what to who so that we have a better understanding of our history.
Yep. You could almost make a case that the Democratic Party is a terrorist organization. If you look at their enforcement arm, the KKK. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, the Ku Klux Klan, for sure.
Well, that's ancient history. How about Antifa today?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, they wear masks. They don't want to be identified, and they try to terrorize people.
Yeah, act in a violent manner.
On Breitbart, for some time, they were keeping a running tally of how much violence was done in the name of the Democrats over the last couple of years, and they were up to like 250 or something like that.
Yeah, well, I got to say, the Abolition Roundtable, which is on the air earlier, 9 o'clock on Saturdays on this station, they cover a lot of this too. The Democratic Party. Reverend Ewell on his show, 8 o'clock Sunday mornings, he covers a lot of this stuff, where the Democratic Party's coming from, what the Republican Party stood for and how they were actually formed in opposition to slavery. And yet, I talked to a black guy once, and I said, I saw that movie Lincoln. I said, it was great, really good movie about a Republican president. And he says, oh, no, Lincoln was a Democrat. I said, oh, no, my friend, you are all wrong. I said, and Martin Luther King was a Republican. He says, oh, get out of here.
They're trying to rewrite history.
Yeah.
And they're succeeding. They're succeeding in rewriting history. And those two programs